Well, as I told you earlier, when we were talking about, I kind of coined the phrase that the smartphone was the swift army knife of army for mobile devices. Because back in the day when I first started this, the other devices that was available was tablets, but the tablets didn't quite have the power of smartphones because they weren't necessarily connected to the internet at that time. But the smartphones had cellular connectivity, and so that gave you access to the internet. But the thing that I discovered that being able to select the right apps could make a phone really a multifunctional device. So I quickly found all the apps I had on my PC that I could also use on my phone, and found a way to connect those. So what I was able to do was be able to well, the only one actually that was available at the time was uh, um, the I'm sorry, the Microsoft Office applications, and also email. So that kind of made me really interested in trying to use this device to for multiple kinds of multiple kinds of situations. So today, though, any smartphone is really capable of interfacing with other IoTs, Internet of Things, that whether it's an Android, Apple, or Windows device, because they're becoming really cross-platform. So they're really agnostic as for what they're running. The apps that they're making or creating today are capable of running on multiple devices. So you can always find the same or similar app in those respective app stores. So, say for instance, if you want to use Microsoft Edge on your Apple phone, you just go to the App Store in on the Apple platform, and you'll find Microsoft Edge there. And likewise, if you want to use Safari on your smartphone, you can find it in the Google Play Store. So that's just an example of how the different companies are trying to play nice with one another. Not always, but in a lot of cases, that's happening. So for this presentation, we're going to talk about things that I have found useful for me in the categories of productivity, medical, communications, financial, home automation, communication, shopping, news and weather, using it as a remote control, entertainment, and games. So those are the kind of things that we're going to be talking about, and I'm going to show you examples. So the definition, of course, for the word application is really abbreviation, and it's a piece of software that runs on the internet, and it can run on your computer or on your phone or any other electronic device. In fact, if you have a smart device like a Google Hub or a Alexa, you'll find that those apps in some cases are cross-platform. They're run on any device. So in the modern use, most people refer to apps as applications or software programs that run specifically on phones or other mobile devices, but they rely on the internet or the cloud. So the apps that we're going to use in this presentation are available from the Google Play Store, because we're talking about an Android device. And the Google Play Store offers apps for all Android devices. And to start downloading and buying apps from the Play Store, you need to have or add a Google account, excuse me, on your device. That is really the key, that if you want to be able to utilize your Android device and be able to sync with other Android applications or Google applications, you need to have a Google account. And once you do that, you are able to use that across any Google application. So say, for instance, if you see a sign in for YouTube, all you need to do is use the Google email address that was assigned to your phone and a password, and that will allow you to get into that application or sign into that application. So what you watch on your or see on your TV or your I'm sorry, what you see on your computer, you can also see the same information on your phone. So if you have a Gmail account, you already have a Google account. So there's no need for you to create another account unless you want to. If you want to be able to sync with across devices, you need to use the same Gmail account, which would be the email address and password. And probably when you purchased your Android phone, they ask you for the email address, your Google email address, to set up your account. So if you have one of those, if you have a Gmail account, all you need to do is, I'm sorry, if you have a Gmail account and you've forgotten the password for it, then all you need to do is just say forgot password, and you can retrieve or reset that password. So if we're talking about productivity, and this is kind of what I like to see, you know, we don't have a beach here in Oklahoma, but I could visualize myself setting out someplace away from my house using my laptop and being able to do any kind of work that I necessarily needed to do in a really what I would consider a friendly environment. So one of the things I use a lot is Microsoft Word, and I use PowerPoint, and occasionally use Excel. And so these applications are available to mobile devices for free. You don't necessarily have to have Office 365 to use those. You can go to the App Store and you can download Word, Excel, and PowerPoint and use them on your mobile devices. The only thing that might be of concern is that you also will use OneDrive as your storage. So you can't directly save anything to the device. You can save it to the device, but if you want to be able to retrieve it later, you have to save it to OneDrive. And then from your OneDrive account on your PC, you can sign in and you can then access that material or that data, and then you can then download it to your hard drive on your PC. Or if you subscribe to Office 365, you can install the entire Office suite on your smartphone. So cloud storage is the one that allows you to maximize your phone storage capacity, because most phones don't have a whole lot of storage. I would suggest if you're out to buy a new phone, you need to steer away from those that are 32 and 64 meg. I would go for a 256 at the minimum, which you can get a 512. Do that, but of course it all depends on your budget. And I think there are some 128s, but usually the ones that are probably for sale are 256. So you just have to look for those. But if you are strapped for memory storage capacity, you could also just use you can use the Dropbox app or the OneDrive or Google Drive. and you can save your data to any of those three applications. And then, of course, you can access those from your PC or laptop. Acrobat Reader, I think, is invaluable. This is the one I use. There are other PDF readers that are available that you can go to the app stores for the Pacific in the Google Play Store and download those if you prefer to use that as a PDF reader rather than Adobe. But that's the one I use. And the reason why I like it is that if someone sends me a PDF attachment in my email, I can see it. I can just tap the attachment and I can be able to read whatever's been sent to me. Being able to print has always been an issue with phones, but that's really been eliminated, because if you're connected to the internet, you can also are able to connect to your printer and be able to print to whatever printer that is in your house. I can print whatever document that I want, and I can do that. I don't necessarily have to be here in the house. I just do it over the internet, and I can print because I have an app on my phone that allows me to do that. And you'll find applications for HP, Epson, Canon. They all have those, and those are found in the app stores. Phones come with a standard browser depending on the operating system that you have. If you have an Android, you're going to have Chrome. If you have an iOS device, it's going to be Safari. But that doesn't mean that you can't also download other browsers such as Firefox, Microsoft Edge, as I mentioned before. And then there's some other ones that Opera, any browser that is available in the App Store, you should be able to use on your phone. You can use any browser that you feel that you like. If you're using a particular browser on your PC and you want to use it on your phone, that's perfectly, that's a good way to be able to have the same bookmarks and all the content that you use on your PC, you can also get on your phone. And then the other thing, of course, all the phones have the GPS capability. And one of the key things about being able to use this is location services. And I would caution you, to be careful of what applications you allow to have the location services turned on. But to use the maps, whether it's Bing or Google Maps, you'll need to have your location services turned on. And the thing that's nice about the GPS for these two applications is that they're always up to date. I remember I had an automobile that had a GPS installed, and it required that I would have to have a CD to keep the maps up to date. Well, today that's no longer the case, because on the phone, you always have the latest information, contingent on the fact, when they last updated the data. But it's infinitely more up to date than having a CD that might be 3 or 4 years old. So this is always a real plus. But in order to use those, you have to have the locations services turned on for those particular apps. Google has really changed how they use location services. Now they are specific to an application. So when you install a particular application, it will ask whether you want to have certain services turned on or off. So, like, say, for instance, if the camera, you do not necessarily have to have the location services turned on to use that application, but it's case by case basis. So when you turn location services on, you're not turning it on for all the applications across the board. They can be turned on for an individual application. Say, for instance, your flashlight, you wouldn't want to have location services turned on for that. Although when you install that, that will be one of the questions that's asked. But just remember that when you're doing the installation process, some of those things are templates, and they rather than have a developer do a certain process for every application, he can just download and place that in place. And it's up to us as users to make the decision whether or not we want to allow that application to do any specific thing, do a specific function. So just keep that in mind, that template that you get, because I hear a lot of people saying, well, why is it asking me on my flashlight whether or not I need to use the location? Well, the reason why is that is a standard across the board development tool that they just put in, so they don't have to be rewriting every application. So it's all standardized. And so you as a user, you make the decision whether or not you want to allow that particular application to use a particular service. So just keep that in mind. Yes, as I said, Google Maps are by far my favorite, but the Bing mapping is really also a good service. There are pros and cons about both. So I would suggest you have both installed on your phone, or both Android and iPhone, because there's really no clear advantage of using either. It's really a user preference. The calendar is another app that I use, and I'm now fine because I have smart devices here. I have a hub that when I update my phone calendar, it updates all my other Google devices. So when I can use my Google Home, I could, the display, I can go in and check the calendar, and all that information is there for me. Like today, the meeting today, when I would check my calendar, it was showing on my home device. And in the morning, it's always good. I can go in and just ask, say, hey, G, what's on my calendar today? And it just kind of rolls off everything that I'm going to be doing that I have placed on the calendar. So I have that synchronization. You can also do to-dos, reminders of whether you want to create that you can create alongside your events. So there's a lot of good things about being able to have the synchronization across devices or anything that you have synced to that particular, to your calendar. So that's the thing that really makes this all work and be very useful. At least it's very useful to me. And I can say with honesty that as much connectivity that I have, and I want to say everything in my house is wireless, that I've never had any intrusion that I'm aware of that has caused me any problems. So I feel very comfortable because I think that I have the appropriate safeguards for my router, and I have the appropriate other security things that I've put in that allows me to be very comfortable with what I'm able to do within the confines of my home, and it's for my convenience. And the thing that I'm really working towards is so that I can be able to age in place. So I want to have all these conveniences that I can be able to use so that I can live comfortably in my home as long as I want and won't be shipped off to a nursing home someplace. I want to be able to still be able to function within my home So I'm trying to do everything possible so that I can make things easier for me, and that I can be safe within my home while using technology to do that. The other thing that I found really interesting is that there's such thing as a mobile passport. Of course, with COVID now, we're not traveling as much. I was traveling a few years ago, and I found this really handy, which was called a mobile passport. I was going out of the country. And as you're aware, when you're coming in, you're on a ship or an airplane and you're coming into the United States, they always pass out these little paper documents that you have to fill out to make the declarations of what you're bringing into the country. And then once you get to your deportation point, you just go and stand in a line and wait till your turn to go into a kiosk to put in your passport to make the same declarations again, really. And then you go to another line and wait until you are wait for the inspector to inspect your documents and your passport. If you use this mobile passport, you can bypass all that, because at your deportations point, you'll find this particular logo that you see up here in the upper left-hand corner with the little guy in the airplane. And it will lead you to you completely bypass that kiosk where you have to insert your passport. And you just go up to the officer, and he'll ask you to see your phone, and it'll have a little QR code, and you might have to show your passport, but you do not have to present those documents because it's already positioned, and he can see all that information. So what you do is you're approaching your destination point, you bring up this app, and you fill out this exact same stuff that you fill out on those paper copies. And within, I think it's 5 or 10 miles within your destination point, this becomes active, and you just click on the submit button, and all this, the custom decoration and all that information has already been pre-positioned for the inspector. So you can bypass the long lines. And the thing about it right now is that not many people know about that. So you'll probably be the only 1 or 2 people in line. So that, in my opinion, is a good thing. Another thing is the United States Post Office. They have a really great mobile app that you can go in and stop your mail, do all kinds of stuff. How many times have you found yourself at the leaving your home and you say, "Oh, I forgot to change to stop the mail"? Well, you can go into your app and do that right on the spot, and that will take effect the very next day. And then it has other things like, you can find post offices, look up zip codes, calculate shipping prices, etc. There's lots of things you could do with that particular app. Android Pay is a feature of your phone. Samsung phones has this kind of built in, where you can actually use your phone as a to pay at the checkout counter, and it will allow you to add a credit card to that app. But that credit card that you add is not the same one that will be used to pay for the service or the goods that you buy. It will provide a pseudo number, which the card reader will read and accept as payment. So if you don't have the an NFC terminal, you can just swipe the phone just next to the card reader, and it will go ahead and accept that. So a lot of retailers are actually using that. So I think you see those terminals when you when you use your credit card to buy goods. You can also use your phone to do the same thing. I occasionally use mobile banking to particularly if I want during COVID, if I had got a paper check, I took a picture of that and was able to make that deposit to the bank, and it worked flawlessly with no problems. And I actually use my phone more to check my banking than I do my PC. It just seems to be more convenient. But I'm careful how I do it. I don't necessarily do it in public areas, but I do use it a lot. And PayPal has a similar application that you can use to send money and do other things with PayPal. If you buy goods and services, I sometimes use my phone to, well, I shouldn't say sometimes, a lot. I use my phone to buy things from Amazon. I have an Amazon app on my phone, and I'll go in and do a search. And then if I want to go ahead and purchase that, I will then go in and select PayPal to pay for those goods. Venmo is another service that is also owned by PayPal, and it's a way of being able to transfer money between friends and whatever. I not used this, but I showed that because I was told that that's something that the younger set is using. I have not used it, but you can go ahead and transfer funds between individuals. Communications, which of course is one of the things that phones are really designed for, we thought. And a couple of apps that I found interesting. One is Duolingo. I was going to the Dominican Republic quite frequently. That was kind of the place I enjoyed after I retired, because it's a wonderful climate and really nice beaches, and I just kind of like the area. So I was trying to learn Spanish. So in doing so, I downloaded this app that's called Duolingo, and it's kind of a game where you can go in and learn phrases and words, and as you become more proficient, it will elevate you to the next level. So it's a fun way to be able to learn another language. And I think you'll find it enjoyable if you're interested in learning a language. Google Translate was another app that I used when I was traveling, and that was if I was having problems understanding an individual, I could use this app to be able to translate my English language to Spanish, and I just showed the individual what I said on my phone. And then they could vice versa do the same thing. They could speak Spanish into the phone, and then it would translate it into English. So the Google Translate is really a practical application. You can copy text and do a lot of things with it, and be able to communicate with an individual. And you don't need to necessarily have to have an internet connection, because some of those languages are really just are built in. You don't have to bother with having an internet connection to do so. And one of the other interesting one, which one of my club members told me, they were traveling and they used Google Translate. They used a camera translation. They were doing some genealogy research, and they went to a library to do some research on a family member, and they found that it was in another language. They took a picture of that, and by doing so, the picture was able to translate the image into English.
That's amazing.
Some of the other things that are pretty common as far as mobile communication, Skype has been around a long time. It's one that Microsoft developed, and it's available on the PC, and it's also available on your tablets and also on your phone. The other one is Messenger, which is a product of Facebook. And a lot of people use that to send messages back and forth between family members and friends. And then the third one is WhatsApp. These are all standalones. So they do not actually speak with one another. So if you are in a Skype call, I want to make a Skype call, the other individual has to have Skype in order to accept the call, and that's the same with Messenger and WhatsApp. Some of these also have the capability of allowing you to send pictures and documents. So that's another way to be able to communicate with an individual. If you want, you can go in and attach a Word document to Messenger or to Skype or WhatsApp, and then that will go to the individual, and hopefully if they have those applications on their phone, they'll be able to read it. But you can also tell them, you can download Microsoft Office for mobile devices for free. So if you want to send a document over and use the native format that was created in, you'll be able to do that. One of the things too is that you're seeing more and more where the phone is becoming a remote device. I mean, a remote control for different applications. A lot of cars these days are able to, unlock the doors. You should have your phone on you and so forth. I don't have any of those particular applications in this presentation, but just be aware that there are apps for different newer model automobiles that allow you to be able to access some of the functions of the car. But the ones that I use is for my router. I have a Linksys router, and I'm able to use my phone to monitor what's taking place on my router. And I find it a lot more convenient because you always have your phone with you, or at least nearby, and it's a lot easier to access these different devices with your phone than it is having to go to a laptop or a PC. So I use my the Linksys app to check how the connectivity of my devices and different things of that matter. I have a Google Home, and I can go and look at all my devices. I can look at the cameras. I can check the doors, turn on the lights, and do a variety of things with that particular application. Voice assistance, which is the application that allow you to talk to those devices. Like if you have a Google Home, you can tell them, in this case, it's Google Assistant. You can ask it to turn on the lights or unlock the door or whatever you have done. You can also manage your schedule. You can ask it for information, what the weather is. You can ask it to play various musical entertainment devices that you have connected to your Google Home. I use my phone to control my thermostat, and I find this very helpful. If I'm in bed and I say, oh gosh, it's feeling a little chilly or it's too hot, I don't have to get out of the bed to go mess with the thermostat. I can just use my phone to access that, or I can use my Google Home and tell it with the voice assistant to tell it to lower the temperature or increase the temperature. Doorbells and locks, you can get a notification on your phone if somebody's at your door, and you can tell them, you can answer the door, I'm sorry, and see what they want. They have no idea whether you're in the house or you might be across town doing something else and someone's at your door, where you can answer that through your phone. There's an app that's, if you have a Nest, which is what I have, I can control my thermostat and my doorbell, and of course use it for my Nest assistants. And Nest is owned by Google, as you may not be aware, but it is. So that kind of that integrates quite well with your Android phone. There's a Wise app. I have a couple Wise things. I have a camera and I have a door lock, and I can control that from my phone. Of course, Wi-Fi control light switches. I can turn the lights on and off using my phone, which I find quite handy. I mean, I don't have to get up and actually go to that area. If I'm in bed, I'm thinking about I need to go to the kitchen. I can either, ask Google to do it or use my phone to turn those lights on. So I don't have to be fumbling for light switches as I'm trying to navigate through my house, which there's always, the possibility of people falling or tripping over things because like most people, I'm not one to actually try to turn the lights on. I try to navigate in the dark, which is not a good thing. I think it's a male thing, but anything, but back to entertainment, YouTube, if you're bored and you want to watch your favorite TV show or whatever, you can do that on your phone. Granted, a lot of people say, oh, that's such a small screen, but you'd be surprised. I don't know if you actually tried it or not, but I've actually tried to watch, I watched a movie on my phone, and it's really quite immersive because even though it's a small screen, you still can see all the action. It's not difficult to see what's going on. It's very clear and vivid. All you need is a set of headphones or earphones to plug into the earphone jack on your phone. If your phone has those jacks, now that's one of the things about some of the newer phones now, they're actually going to Bluetooth. So you have to connect the Bluetooth buds with your phone, but you'll get great sound and you'll get a great picture. And that also goes for YouTube TV. If you have a YouTube TV, you can download that subscription, download the app, to your phone and take advantage of that, your YouTube subscription when you're traveling. Sling TV was, I had this app at one time. In fact, I was using Sling and I didn't change to YouTube TV, but it's amazingly, Sling still allows me to use the application, except there's a free version and I can do certain things on that if I so desire. I think it's been sort of shelved to the background because of some of the other streaming programs that are out there. It's not nearly as as viable as it once was. Netflix, you can do if you have a Netflix subscription, you can play those on your phone. As a good resource, if someone's asking about a particular movie, you can go in and just see what's available in Netflix, or find out some more information about that particular movie. And some of the screenshots. Roku is another streaming application. If you have that device, it has a remote control you can use to use for the device that you have installed, but you also can use Roku on the go as well. So if you're in a hotel or whatever, you can use the Roku app to stream movies to the phone, and then it's possible to cast that to a larger screen. One of the music applications I really enjoy is Spotify. I have it on my phone, and I also have it on a couple other devices. But the thing that's nice about the Spotify app is that it has a couple things that others do not, in my opinion, is that first of all, you can listen for free. But as you get the subscription service, you get something that's called Connect. And Connect allows you to play the content on any device that you have, whether it be, if you have it on your phone, you can play it in your car, and then you can just Bluetooth it to your headset in your car. And the beauty about that, if whatever you're listening to, you can continue listening to when you come back to your home. You just pick up where you left off, and you found a really nice station you enjoyed. And you can, when you walk in the house, you can play that on your stereo or your TV or whatever that you have Spotify installed on. The free version doesn't allow you to do that, but the subscription service does. But it has a vast library of artists and and albums. I know some of the old albums that I had years and years ago. I thought at one time I was going to, I had this really started collecting a lot of record albums, LPs, that I was going to be saving for listening to in my old age. Of course, technology changed, and although LPs are coming back, but there was a few years ago where it looked like the LPs were going to go the way of the dodo bird. So I started finding those same albums on Spotify just by putting in the search, and I was able to come up with an album which a physical album which I had, and I could put it in my playlists. So now I don't have to even, I think all those albums that I had that I bought, I said, if I had known this was going to happen, I spent $5-10 for a record album that now, which is rather useless because I can just download those from the internet and listen to the same music. So that's the screenshots for that. And then here's some other ones. It's Pandora, Calm, and then what we were talking about, SiriusXM is a subscription service that almost all autos come with these days. But the interesting thing about this is that SiriusXM has an app that you can put on your phone. And so you can use it in the house if you so desire. You don't have to, I mean, it's no longer just tied to the car. And the subscription, I think they allow you to to use it on another device within your home, play it in your home without having to subscribe to anything additional. But you just might want to check that. But SiriusXM has an app in your in the App Store or in the Google Play Store. And then there's games. Words with Friends is a fun game. It's kind of a modernized version of Scrabble, but you can play it across, the internet. If you ever, wherever you are, it doesn't matter. You can play that. Then the Microsoft Solitaire Collections, I play that a lot. And the thing about it is I have it synced, so whatever device I have, if I'm playing solitaire on my PC or my laptop, I can also play it on my phone, and I'm playing the same game. So if I stop playing it, pause it on my laptop, I can pick it up on my phone, and I continue to play. And there's both a free and paid version of that. Social media, I think we're all aware of this. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. So all those are things where people are using today to connect with their friends and family. So in summary, I just want to say that those are ones that the application I currently have on my phone, and I do use them almost on a daily basis. And I found my phone to be really a central part of my life. I mean, it's things that I use to connect to when I'm away from home, is that I no longer have to be saddled with carrying a laptop or any of those kinds of things. I can do essentially the same thing on my phone that I do at home. I use it for a calendar, a remote control. I can remotely turn on my lights or do a number of things when I'm out of the house. And it's all because, the phone today has all these wonderful things that's built into it. You hear people say, I have more computing power in my pocket than they had to launch the first satellite. So you can check your health, do any number of things you can do with your phone with just applying the right apps. So that's the presentation, and I'm really open for any questions. We can kind of clarify and discuss more about how you can use your phone, or some of the pitfalls that you found, or some of the things you think are really questionable when you're our fears in using the phone to do certain things, which I have not found to be an issue.